What's up, Giga fam? The Season 6 patch drops today for Warzone. And I will link the patch notes down below. It's got obviously all the new information about new modes, stuff like that, bug fixes. I just want to focus on the weapons balancing. Um, as you guys know, if you've been around here for a while, I like to give loadouts for basically every relevant gun in the patch. We'll do gameplays, all that good stuff. Obviously, the meta, it's always a work in progress. Like, we can make assumptions based on prior knowledge and kind of like what we see on paper. But we got to get hands-on. We got to test this stuff. But I did want to give you guys kind of my initial impressions and go through it together so that we can kind of brain share a little bit. I'll give you my impressions. Once we get through the patch notes, which there's actually not as much balancing as I expected, so we can get through it quick, I will throw up some builds for you guys in game that I think will probably be meta. And I'm usually right with my guesses, but we never know for sure. Without further ado, let's get into it. Real quick, the new guns, which I don't have any data for yet, are the Kastov LSW. It's an LMG. Looks like it's meant to be running like tac stance. So I'm not really sure where that's going to fit in like a meta. Probably more of like a cheese gun. If it ends up being like meta, it's going to be because it's like actually broken, overtuned. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Definitely like a niche thing though. Might be fun to use. We'll see. The DTIR 30-06 battle rifle. This would have a potential to be in the meta. Sounds like it's fully auto, slow firing, hard hitting. Depending on the recoil, damage output, this could be meta. We'll just have to see once we get data on it. There is some new attachments. The binate suppressor and the caster compensator. We'll just have to see what the stats are on those. And this underbarrel could really shake up the close range meta. Side angled foregrip that makes it possible to sprint and fire at the same time. That is absolutely insane in the context of Warzone. I mean, I can only imagine, 8.3 meters per second sprinting superi build with this thing on the grip. I mean, that would just be insane, right? You'd be breaking cameras, frying people. We'll have to see what the downsides are of that, though. But yeah, could be absolutely insane. Some new aftermarket parts. I'll let you guys check those out. And the meat and potatoes of this video, the weapon adjustments, okay? BP-50, the primary version got a range buff. Insignificant. It's decent, but not great. Definitely not meta. But the Jack Revenger conversion kit, okay, has best-in-class TTKs up close, right? But really bad damage fall off. It got a near mid damage, so that's that next damage range buff. So, a gun that was already near meta, and we're giving it a significant buff. There is a nerf component of it. The neck modifier was decreased, and that actually will affect the max damage. So this is one where I would say overall it probably is like a tiny buff, just because that damage fall off actually, if you get a lot of reps with the gun, it's pretty jarring. So I think this will smooth the gun out a little bit. But in certain situations, it will impact your close range TTKs. So we'll just have to see on the conversion kit. I do think, though, that it is an awesome option to run. The Holger 556 got another range buff. It was already really good. This just makes it even better. I think this thing will be near, if not meta. The MCW gets another range buff. I don't know why they keep buffing the ranges on it. The damage ranges are fine. The problem is the base damage values are bad. Okay? So this will not push it into the meta. Okay? Obviously it helps the gun, but it will not push it into the meta. Okay? MTZ 556, which I actually think is slept on. I think it's awesome. Awesome gun. When I did my Season 5 loadout for it, it was a pleasure to use. At the time, I felt like it was like in the top 3 ARs, and I still kind of feel that way. It's awesome. And now you get a little headshot multiplier buff to it, where if you're accurate, you're gonna just absolutely zap people. Awesome. This is probably the biggest component of this entire patch, a highly significant nerf to the STG. Max damage range decreased by almost 10 meters. Near mid damage range also decreased by almost 10 meters. And then even more impactful, we got some shot location modifier nerfs. So lower torso damage and extremity damages. So basically you're going to have to be more accurate with it. Your damage ranges are going to be even less forgiving than they already were. The STG, as insanely strong as it was and as meta as it was, it does have significant damage fall off. I will say though, it's still going to fit into the meta, okay? A 700 millisecond TTK to chest on a highly accurate AR is insane, okay? And again, it still, in my opinion, has the best recoil in the game, okay? So I do still think it's like meta, but I think we're going to have one of those kind of like three-pronged metas where there's like other options that are just as good, okay? But I do think this is a substantial nerf to the STG that brings it more in line with other guns with some defined strengths and weaknesses. But I don't think it completely guts the gun. I actually think there's an argument to be made that it's still like the strongest gun in the game, okay? Just because of that insane recoil and the fact that it has AR handling and whatnot. SVA 545 gets another range buff, fantastic option, and this just makes it even better. M13C got a sprint to fire buff, which makes it an even better like sniper support. Obviously not like meta, okay, but it is niche, fun to use, and now it's a little bit stronger. That's a fun little buff. The M16 Jack Patriot conversion kit got a series of like range buffs. I have not actually used this, so let me know down in the comments if this is something that you want me to explore. I have never used this conversion kit, so I'm not too knowledgeable about it. The Geist. Oh, this was so needed. Okay, it got an ADS buff, huge ADS time buff, okay? For whatever reason, these Modern Warfare 2 guns, a bunch of them have like significantly undertuned like random stats. Like everything will be in line with some of the newer guns, but then it'll randomly have like a horrendous ADS time. That was the case with the Geist. This thing, it's meant to be an AR, right? So you could try to like be aggressive. But the ADS times were so bad. And you know, there's probably more important stats than ADS times in a long-range primary, but man, when it was that slow, it was miserable to use. So I like this buff. I do think this is going to be worth running, giving it a shot, having some fun with it. We got some recoil buffs to the Cronin Squall. That could be interesting, depending on like if they, you know, what if they made this thing like a pinpoint laser beam? This is something we're just gonna have to test in game. Could be fun. Same with the FTAC Recon, Lockman 762. They gave the TAC V some firing aim stability. That could be just what the TAC V needs for all you TAC V stands to finally actually have a legitimate claim that it is like, you know, a viable option. So yeah, these are fun buffs. That'll be fun to test. The SMG section, I feel like the most noteworthy thing is that Static, untouched, Superi, untouched, WSP9, untouched. Like all the best SMGs were untouched. We're getting slight buffs to the HRM and the Ram 9. AMR 9 gets a pretty substantial like range buff, some shot location modifier buff, but it's still not going to be anywhere near the meta, right? It's a pea shooter. So very interesting. The SMG meta is basically going to stay exactly the same. Okay, maybe they're wanting to test that new attachment before they make any big changes to SMGs. We'll see. The Protean conversion kit for the Raw. This thing was broken. It was definitely broken, and it got a pretty substantial nerf. Okay, you're gonna have to be like hyper accurate with like headshots to get similar TTKs to what you were getting. It might still be strong though. We just kind of have to see. Those are weird ones where you kind of just have to get hands-on testing and kind of see how it feels. But I like that nerf though, because otherwise it was going to be in literally every single player's hands. Okay, I do think though if you're accurate, this thing it can still be like oppressive. They didn't do anything to like base damage values. Actually, you know what? Even if you're accurate, it looks like the headshot multiplier was almost cut in half. I did not realize it had a 3x headshot multi. Wow, that is obscene. Actually makes me think even more people should have been running it last patch. That is crazy. Okay, well, the protein conversion kit got gutted. It was so unbelievably broken though that maybe it's still usable. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Without further ado, I want to get you guys into some builds for what I think will be meta for long range and then for close range. Let's go through what I think will be the long range meta. I will give thoughts on what I think the #1 gun will be. But I've got 8 builds for you guys that will all be in the mix. So definitely get those screenshots ready. We're going to get through them quick. If you like this content, definitely consider subbing, man. I'm just pumping out daily YouTube videos, and then, you know, we're going to get in the lab. I'm going to be getting 30, 40 kill gameplays with all of these and anything that pops up, catches me by surprise. We love to share information around here, share knowledge, so just let me know down in the comments anything you think I should be testing. But all reliable, same meta STG, I think is going to be still one of the best guns. You're also not going to be having to face as many other STGs, right? So you will dominate within its max damage range. You will probably beat everyone, right? So it definitely still has a use case. The Holger 556 is just sort of a more balanced option, much better damage over range, but not as good of recoil, okay? So the Holger 556 though is awesome, pretty much just as good as the STG now. The SVA, absolute beam. I like to use it more versatile than most players. I don't just switch it into hyperburst. I will, depending on the situation, fully auto it. So like the quartermaster, if you only use it in hyperburst, switch this for the sonic suppressor. The Poem Yacht, I think on paper it is by far the best gun now. So if you can get over the slow mobility, get yourself in the right position with your secondary, you are going to chew through teams with this. I do think we have an LMG meta on our hands. This is the best gun in the game as far as I can tell, this Poem Yacht. No conversion kit. Do not run the conversion kit. After last patch's buff, you do not want to run the conversion kit. Snipers are absolutely nutty now, right? You start to nerf long range fully automatics. One-shot snipers get that much more compelling to use, okay? So here's my Kar 98. That's a recon sling. My face cam is covering. And the MRS, I like to go for like a low sway build because this gun has a ton of sway. If that doesn't bother you, like if you're on like mouse and key and it's really easy for you to hold breath, you know, you could totally change the build around, but this is what I like to run. I don't notice too much of a difference with the bolts, so this is my build for the MRS. And a couple of honorable mentions. MTZ 556 might be my personal favorite AR other than the STG. I love this thing. It is an absolute monstrosity in the right hands. And the bow, okay? If you understand the fact that the damage ramps up on it, this thing is absolutely nutty, okay? And then we've got one more meta contender. The Eradicator is insane. Although the TTKs are not quite as good as the Poem Yacht, you will not have to sacrifice as much handling. As for the close range meta, don't really think it's changed much at all. Static is still going to be king, okay? Superi, also awesome, more for a max tactical sprint speed. The BP50 conversion kit might be even more compelling now that the damage fall off won't be as bad. The Striker, probably the best sniper support in the game. It is absolutely amazing in that role. The WSP9, still an absolute beast. Okay, and shotguns are going to be crazy, as always. There's a reason they're banned in tournaments. Cool. I will say that underbarrel may be a game changer, so that's something we need to stay on the lookout for. Okay? I love y'all. Hope you enjoyed this content. Just wanted to give you a snapshot of what I think the Season 6 meta will be to kind of boost us forward a little bit, give us a good foundation that we can really start to, like, you know, get into the weeds, figure out what the meta is so we can have an advantage over our opponents in the Giga fam. Let's go, baby. That's all I got for you. I will be cranking out more loadout videos starting tomorrow. And all day today on my live stream on Twitch, I'll be in the lab testing this stuff. Peace!